some barefoot myths and some frequently asked questions when on the floor. So there's a few that we get. I'm going to start with one of them. Is it waterproof? A lot of people in today's day and age need Gore-Tex or waterproof membranes. It's the first thing that they ask is it waterproof? And we've worked with a lot of the outdoor experts, some survivalists, Ben McNutt. We've worked with a lot of people in the most extreme environments. And we found that a lot of them prefer not to have the membranes. The membranes are quite toxic to the planet and quite hard to make. But because we don't use the membrane, we're not allowed to label it waterproof, even though it will pass all the tests in the factory. So they would be submerged in water and have to keep the water out for a certain amount of time. So they pass all the tests, they tick all the boxes, but we can't put waterproof on it because it doesn't have the membrane or the Gore-Tex. But it is better for the planet. And what most of the survival experts reckon is it's actually better. It gives you breathability, it dries better. When water gets in the shoe, it's better. So it's actually better than having the membrane. So that's one of the myths that you can debunk. Another one is that I need cushioning. So a lot of people have big, thick cushioned shoes. They think that the cushioning is to protect them from hard surfaces. A lot of people will say that there aren't hard surfaces like this in nature. Everything hard is man-made, like concrete and floors. In fact, the hardness is not the problem. Hard is actually good for us. The problem is humans have made everything flat. So it's a very repetitive motion. When you go into nature, everything's convex, concave, it's different shapes, slightly undulating. So it's actually the flatness that's the problem. But the hardness ain't the problem. Your foot is really clever. So you have the plantar fascia and you have your Achilles. So that's your shock absorber. So you can tell people that that's your only natural shock absorber. Use it. And use some analogies. Say when you were on holiday in a warm country, Spain, Greece, when you were walking around that swimming pool, did you ever get hurt? Nobody has ever said that they got hurt. When you get home, do you take your shoes off and walk around? Yes. Do you get hurt at home? No. There are some people who have foot issues that would say, yes, my feet hurt at home. And then we've got to be very careful. Then we say, how do we build you up and how do we work with you to make your foot stronger? But we do believe that the more you support something, the weaker it's going to get. So let's get your shoes off. Let's get walking. Your foot's really clever. When you walk around, you will walk gently in a barefoot shoe. You're not going to stomp around when you walk on your heels. So that's a good way to debunk the hard surface or the cushioning. When people talk about arch support, and we need to have arch support because I have high arches or low arches, and also cushioning, when they have their shoes off, just ask them to jump up and land on their heels. Nobody's going to jump up and land on the heel because it's going to make this noise. The room literally shudders. If you jump up and land like that, it's not going to make any noise. It's a very simple thing, and that's how your foot works. That's why you don't need cushioning and you don't need arch support. The arch support will also lead people into say, I have high arches or I have flat feet. The first thing you do there is get them on the plantar pressure plate because that's the lie detector. A lot of these people who have inner soles who have been diagnosed with high arches or flat feet have never even stood on an arch support. So the person recommending these is just looking at their feet and going, I think you have high arches or you have low arches. Now in nature and in humans, we do have people who are born with high arches and we have people who are born with flat feet. That is not a problem. The problem is if your plantar fascia can't work. So your plantar fascia is your only spring, right? So if you have flat feet and you pick your foot up and it stays flat and you put it down, then your shock absorber is not shock absorbing. But most people who have flat feet, when they pick their feet up, it makes this shape. So when they put it down, there's an arch and that takes the spring. Right. And if we go to Africa, when they did that research, Dan Lieberman, with 80% of runners get injured, they reckon that 75% of all Africans had flat feet. They're the best runners in the world, but they had flat feet. So people with flat feet say we've got to get arch support. You don't. You just need a strong, flexible arch. And we have online courses like Toga, which will help people strengthen their arch. Then you have the opposite one, somebody who has high arches. So the problem there is if you have a high arch and you pick it up and you put it down and it stays like that, that's a stiff, rigid arch. It's not springing. If you have a high arch, when it lands, it makes this shape, then your spring is working. We would like that to become more flexible and stronger, and barefoot shoes will help that over time. So barefoot shoes will help both flat and high arches, but do recommend it with caution. Get a pair of our shoes, try it. We have 100-day free trials. Stand before you can walk, before you can run, and we want to go on a journey with you to make your foot stronger. Let them know that their feet will be a little bit tired in the beginning. Remember, if you went to gym tomorrow and did 200 dumbbell curls, and then you put it down, you wouldn't be able to lift your arm up tomorrow. you're not going to go stupid dumbbell. So we want people to know that when they get sore feet or tired feet the next day, that it's because their foot's working. That's a good thing. We want their foot to feel a bit tired and to know that their foot's working, because in 6 months, their foot strength is 60% stronger, remember? Another thing is that if it's very thin shoes, my feet are going to get cold. Remember, some people in Europe will have extremely cold countries. We sell our shoes in Finland, we sell our shoes in some really cold places, and they are fine. We have great technology that goes into our shoes. When it comes to the cold, we have thermal insoles. Thermal insoles are pretty amazing. So it has a product called Outlast. Outlast is the silver product. This can be found in the same thermal regulators that you find in NASA spacesuits. So we have spacesuit technology in our footwear. So it's pretty impressive. And most people who wear barefoot shoes never complain about cold feet. It's because your foot's also very dynamic. So there's great blood circulation. The only time you might feel cold is if you were like standing at a train station for an hour. But if you walk around a little bit, your foot won't get cold. Other questions that get asked quite often is, how long will it take me to wear my barefoot shoes to transition? Everybody's different. A good analogy to use here would be, how long does it take a baby to walk? Every child most children will be able to walk and then to run. Some at 11 months, some at 1 year, 6 months. The one who started at 1 year, 6 months could become an Olympic athlete. So don't put a time on it. Listen to your body, listen to your feet. It's really, really clever, and you will get there. And everybody's different. Do you do yoga? Are you a swimmer? What's the condition of your feet? So make sure you get people on the pressure plate, do some scanning, let them know about the 100-day free trial and ease them into that. They will get there. Everybody's journey will be slightly different. And then in the outdoor as well, you're going to get asked a lot like, I need ankle support. You don't need ankle support. I need rock plates. I need a stiff rigid because I'm going to feel the ground. You want to feel the ground. That's what you've got to tell them to do. So get them in our shoes, let them walk on the rocks. It's pretty invigorating. And one of the things to tell them is that a barefoot shoe will have bigger surface contact area. So when you walk in on a rock, the shoe actually has the ability to take shape of the rocks. Your surface area becomes so much better. And the other thing is, once your foot takes contact of the rock and that surface area is there, and then you have the proprioception to your brain, if it's slightly off-piste or you're slightly at an angle, your brain knows straight away that your ankle will then correct and your whole body will correct. So in the outdoors, our shoes really come to life. So you want to be feeling the ground to move correctly and to not roll your ankles. Rolling ankles comes from big, thick cushion shoes. It doesn't come from barefoot shoes. And the ankle support, the only time you would need ankle support is if you're carrying really heavy pack and you're top heavy. So if you are going on a long hike and you've got a big pack, then you could get ankle support. The only reason you should have a high ankle otherwise is to protect you from the wet, to protect you from the cold, but you don't need it to support your ankle. Your ankle's pretty good at doing its own job, especially if the foot can do its job. So that's a few of the frequently asked questions.